In the few days that followed, I was busy coordinating various things and handling procedures for a trip to Earth, so I couldn't go to the Fudce investment office. I was thinking it was Risa's plan, maybe. Just beyond one wall, Dr. Wallace's endless dreams must be in the middle of being dismantled. Risa said with a conviction there was nothing looked beyond what Wallace gazed at, as if she was saying, "Don't look at what the dead look at." That aside, and because I was sort of an investment geek, I just wondered what Wallace was trying to do. Short-selling ABS? Claims could be traded, and based on the level of demand. The value of securities could fluctuate. If that happened, then there was opportunity for investment. Right now, ABS and CDO were in the middle of explosive demand increase, so to compare this to a stock trade, right now, the stock price will be in the middle of an explosive increase. I could also trade them via an investment bank broker and reap profits from a price increase right away. But short-selling ABS could not be called a hemophiliac investment anymore. If you tried to sell extremely popular claims short, you incur losses akin to getting your head cut off by a guillotine. Or a possibility also exists is doing a complex financial transactions based on ABS and CDO. No matter what it was, as long as the price fluctuated, in theory you could create any kind of financial product. After a lot of thinking, the night before my sudden trip to Earth, I put an appearance in the Fudce investment office. Oh, how? You better get something. This whole thing was so sudden, even I don't know if I've gotten anything. My words, Marco cackled. That's Risa for you, alright? If she allowed you any time to think, you'd end up taking years. This coming from you. So what's it about? With my positions, don't worry, I won't tweak them too much. But that's not what I'm really worried about. As I fumbled for words, Marco looked at me suspiciously and said, "It's about a doctor. I have instructions from Risa. You can't." She made the first move. Risa may not know much about maths, but she could tell that our profits were becoming smaller and smaller, so she was worried you'll rack your brains and do something weird. But I wouldn't do something like that, was what I wanted to say. But I had too many precedents already. So I won't investigate Wallace's case. If I found out something, I'd speak for sure. I got it. Marco was so obstinate. Wonder what kind of reward Risa promised him. Even Marco was quite learned about investments, far more so than someone of his generation normally was. Must be quite interested in the depths of what got hold of Wallace. He could be so different to it. Since it was Risa we were talking about, she might have laid his head on her lap and cleaned his ears or something. However, I also had a secret plan of my own. After hearing a sigh, I said this. However, I do have one or two worries. What does that mean? I'm talking about Miss Maria. I wanted to make sure I had Mark on my back foot. He went on a serious tone. Well, like us. Didn't hire anyone else, right? As for our lawyers, they're going through a major law firm. It's not like they come back to kind of providing. What happened to a doctor, Miss Maria must be enjoying crushing stress. That's the only thing I... Say how? Marco interrupted me as a faint surprise. That's really low. Low? Does that have anything to do with Wallace? I'm just worried about a neighbour, that's all. Marco looked at me as if she was about to cry. I'm also worried about Miss Maria. I figured. As a colleague and someone whose office is next to ours. I guess. I spoke in a shallow business-like manner. Marco was adamant he had looked into Wallace's case. Closed his eyes, falling prey to anguish. But Wallace wasn't alone in that office. If there was anyone in this world worried about Wallace, it was Maria. It's obvious what a young boy in love would do next. I looked at Marco the way I would look at Liar. Can you keep that a secret from Risa? Of course. I shrugged and said, you can tell me anything, try to do it sooner rather than later. Do any surveillance games or anything? It's a simple guess. I delivered with my best poker face. Marco covered his eyes with his hand so vehemently, he might have been praying to God. Sat back in his chair. Risa did forbid him to do that, but he must have been trying to take the opportunity to score points by helping Maria when she was weak. If you crumble under such pressure, I don't think you'll be able to hide anything from Risa. So what was Wallace doing? As I spoke, I pulled out a chair and sat down. Marco hung his head in shame, likely aware he wouldn't be able to hide anything now. Opened his mouth and looked at me. Seems Miss Maria doesn't know. Why is he still on a drip feed of a hospital? Looks like he's acting as a burned out, turned into a cripple. And can't listen to Miss Maria's pleas or any legal threats. Just like him to do that. And then? While disassembling his PC, we found a heap of statistics and data about residential loans and credit card loans. So he really was after ABS. Doesn't look like it. Looks like he made simulations of what would happen if he sold ABS shorts. But that's what we've been doing when losses should have already drawn into the ground, so far it would breach Earth's mantle. I also think it was what I was thinking. So what in the blazes was King of Pessimism doing? Just who do we have his deals with? That should allow us to hazard a guess about what he did. In my words, Marco's expression turned to one of regret. That is, after analysing his connection history, emails and stuff, I found out he was actively conversing with Harold Bros of late. The Harold brothers. Isn't that a bank he hates the most? Yes. Miss Maria was also wondering about that. In this field, they're called the Eternal Number 2, after all. According to him, they have no integrity. No integrity. As a Peter face, Marco finally laughed. They probably want to surpass Platinum Smith and claim the title of biggest major bank. We were some crazy rumours that the CEO of Howell Brothers had a large CG picture hanging in his room where Platinum Smith office is collapsing. Howard is in that place where the whole company is making some pretty bold moves, right? But then the returns are quite impressive. This would be the opposite stance to the King of Pessimism. You didn't manage to hear anything from a broker of Howard Brothers. That is, when he would speak to me, it seems like Wallace had accumulated impressive positions. They didn't want to liquidate him. Besides this negative carry talking about, his losses every month mean profit to them every month. It really feels like they're all equally bad. Apparently, Wallace not only is Miss Maria, but also his attorney. In other words, Wallace Capital Management's employees consist solely of Dr. Wallace himself. That way, even if Miss Maria is close to him, she has no obligation to provide any information to the investment bank. For her to do that, she needs written authority from him. He really was well prepared. So couldn't his backers claim there was possibility of fraud and force her to? Where people were got some funds to do that, hightailed war back. The only ones left now would be his hardcore followers and investors from whom pulling out would have been risking too much of a loss. It also seems like the people replied in anger to Miss Maria's requests. I don't know whether or not she trusted him with Doctor's investments and such. But by the looks of it, Dr. Wallace was completely sane. His preparations were too perfect. He must have resolved to bet down his last drop of blood, with no concern for how much he lost. That's why things are in a deadlock right now. Since things are like that, actually Miss Maria wanted to. More than that, his gaze changed completely from before. It looked like a dog had just been scolded by his master. What? Actually, she said she wanted to ask you for advice. Then glanced suddenly to her side. I was kind of taken aback and only scratched my head. I thought about it normally, there were a few people on the service capable of tracing what Dr. Wallace would do. Fewer still if we were talking about people who were good terms to him, and who he could trust. That's probably why Maria said that, but Marco's affection for her may have been blinded him to that. I hear her decide before answering. I'm heading for Earth tomorrow. Oh, that's right, so why not just enjoy a trip? Marco went full kid, acting more like his age when he said that. I couldn't help but laugh. When I caught my breath, I answered, Aren't we getting something important? Marco looked at me suspiciously and shrugged before speaking. I trusted you to act as a proxy for me, right? But that's... You just act like a proud and leave everything to me, and right-hand man of a lunar surface's hero. Got a problem with that? Or something like that? You could at least be with Shameless, or do you think you'll be able to manage White's investments for the next 3 months like that? I might as well have woken up by dumping cold water on his face. Marco blinked with surprise and he smiled a weary put-on way before he spoke again. You're not one taking risks, so it's easy for you, Hal. I'm not one who gains returns either. With those words he groaned, looking up the ceiling. It's also been 4 years since I was last at the spaceport. I sprang up from the lunar surface. We're still bustling with activity, and faces still coming and going are also the same. I'm standing at meeting points near the departure gates. I probably look like a guy someone used to do instead trips. The prospect of them still made me anxious. But I had a bag of books, a computer full of data on various companies, so maybe no one saw me as a traveller. Because Risa said I could buy clothes on the way, it was better to travel as lightly as possible. And I stood in front of a gate on ordinary clients, which is quite unusual for a big player in the world of finance. Most people, when they got even a little famous, always use the first class gate. So give my best regards to Eleanor. Not to Hagana. Risa smiled wryly at my reply and added, and to Hagana. It's so big, I'm not sure I'll even find her. As soon as I said that, she patted me on my back, launched into a coughing fit and looked back at Risa, at which point she stuck her thumb in firmly at my back. All I could do is just shrug and laugh. Just stop overthinking about it and go. It might be hard to believe, but you can actually meet a lot of people when you've travelled around a large place like Earth. Huh? Ask, and it'll be given to you. Life is not completely random, you know. No matter how large a place, people with similar motives will follow the same path. I slowly digested Risa's words and nodded, as if swallowing them. If you want to cheer me up, you should try and make it a little easier to understand. The foundation of earning respect is saying things in a roundabout way. You black-hearted sister. That's precisely why I repent every day before God. I never seem to win arguments with Risa. I laughed and looked at the display indicating the departure times. I still have some time, but I'll go to a gate now. It's my first time, so I'm a little worried. You deal with unbelievable amounts of money, but you're so gutless here. It's a question of habit. Heh, see you then. After saying this, Risa gave me a tight hug. She didn't consider it an embarrassing thing to do in public, and not just because other people were doing the same around us. Risa was never much affected by appearances. She had the courage to stay focused on what was important, never looking away, so if she did think that it was the right thing to do. I let her hug me for a while like this. When we were finally separated, Risa looked surprised. You could have been maybe a little bit less clingy. If a dog likes you, does it get embarrassed when you pet it? Now I'm the one getting embarrassed. I was laughing when I spoke, but Risa sounded a bit disappointed. Bye. Yep, see ya. That could be used as a thumbnail. What do you reckon? I mean, that's just such a straightforward, blatant Risa. She waved as she said it, just like when she'd see me off at the church. Just as I was wondering how long she'd keep it up, she suddenly turned on her heel and laughed. Risa will always be Risa after all. I walked through her gate, feeling a bit relieved. The other side of the thin glass was already space. Since it was night time on the lunar surface, at least in an astronomical sense, the sky was already dark. I knew logically that night and day were just projections of a dome on the lunar surface. But I still had troubles processing the change. It felt odd. At a distance I could see Earth shining brightest. It didn't seem that big from here, but the difference in size was immeasurable compared to the lunar surface. Seeing on more planets which was literally giving birth to the lunar surface, I was tracking my back a little. Actually, if I've got a departure gate here, do I generally schedule departures to leave when the Earth is closest? That's interesting. Billions of people, a number I could not even fathom, lived there. Its history spanned over 4 billion years. As long as people act accordingly to their will, similar people follow the same path. Those are Risa's words. You can also say the same about the investment world. However, I couldn't help but feel something darker lurking in her words of encouragement. Because Hagana and I went our separate ways 8 years ago. She's not attempted to contact me even once since then. She was still a runaway miner during those first few years, so of course she couldn't contact me. However, it had been 8 years since then. She could call me if she wanted to, at the very least, and she would have heard my name in passing if she followed the events on the lunar surface at all. So any possible reasons for not contacting me were reasons I didn't want to consider. Maybe Hagana didn't want to see me because she held a grudge against me. Maybe she outright hated me. Risa would never say that, but that's one of the reasons I've never gone looking for her on Earth. Of course, even if Hagana did hold a grudge against me or hate me, I wanted to at least see her once to apologise. That's just what I wanted. She might not have felt the same. What was the right thing to do? I didn't know the answer to that question. Faced with such pessimistic prospects, I know for a fact, but thinking of Hagana transporting me back in time 8 years into the past. I remember the time we spent together, immersing ourselves in stock trading and advancing towards our dreams. Those brief moments of a bed where we were. I don't think they were brief moments, that was completely different. Who didn't know much about anything. We could share our feelings wrapped in the immaculate sheets of ignorance. I still think even today that the secrets of the world were shared there in our hands. With the same right hand that knocked it away. I stared at my right hand, opening and closing it. 4 years ago, when I thought about Hagana, my right hand would go stiff and shake awkwardly. But thanks to Eleanor, I once again gained the strength to extend it towards what I wanted. And now, my right hand shook the hands of so many people every day. As I assessed potential investments, it was full of strength, ready to catch my dreams. And so, just like the old Earth movies, I made myself taking Hagana by the hand, even though she hated me, and bringing her back to the moon by force. Of course, just as Margot said, I was not shameless enough to do that. I chuckled lightly, and heaved a sigh of consternation. But I'm a bit early. As it was my first trip, I was nervous and went through a gate early. However, I still had a lot of time before boarding. My departure was another 30 minutes after that. I decided to go to a coffee shop and check my email. Maybe Marco tried to get in touch. Oh. I just noticed the name of those shops down there. You got a clothes shop called Mark McCartney and another one called Stella and Chloe. I'm pretty sure that's relating to... Isn't there Stella McCartney? Am I forgetting that? Oh well. I always look at these games for some kind of Easter eggs from Spice and Wolf, but not found any yet. As I say, I'm going to end the episode here, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye.